That's Joe's move-in date. No,
It's a great senior center. You're too young, but any of your neighbors, send them down.
I will.
I did talk to Jim.
Test.
And
Check,
we're
check.
definitely,
Test, test.
Test.
Oh, Jim,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, we're good to go.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we talked.
evening. It's six-
Recording in progress.
Good there, yeah.
Guess not,
Try that again.
Yeah,
I think we're
I
good.
don't think we need the owl.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we just unplugged it. We're good. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, 6:30, and welcome back to the open session of the Wenham Select Board. We'll start off with public input. Purpose is for a public comment on matters falling within the jurisdiction of the Select Board and not on the current agenda. Note, public comment on specific agenda items where the public comment period will be deferred until those items are reached. Rules, 2 minutes per person. Person may speak only once, 10 minutes total. All participants wishing to address the Select Board during public comment may do so in person or via Zoom by virtually raising their hand. Speakers must identify themselves by name and street address. The Select Board may or may not deliberate or vote on matters discussed during public comment but are not on the agenda. Do we have anybody on raised hand?
No raised hands on Zoom.
Do we have anybody in the audience wishes to speak? No? All right. Then let's move on then forward to Town Administrator's update and town announcements.
Yep, I have just one special town meeting update. I have a number of updates that I'll be providing the board within the agenda tonight. However, reminder to resident that special town meeting is June 9th, starting at 6:30. Please plan to arrive approximately 1 hour early, as check-in will start at 5:30. We're hoping to begin promptly at 6:30 as we have a decent agenda set for that night, and it is an evening meeting. We are bringing back the family room. There will be 30 spots available in the kindergarten classroom for families with children that would like to take advantage of that. Additionally, we are going to have some tables set up in the back of what was deemed the overflow room at prior town meetings, the cafeteria. So if there is no room available in the, it's first come, first served through a sign up for the family room. And if there is no space available, there will be tables in the back that you can kind of sit up. It's kids on tablets and drawing and coloring and things like that. Additionally, we're going to be offering rides. Any seniors that need a ride to town meeting, the COA bus will be running throughout the evening and picking folks up and getting them to and from town meeting. Jim Reynolds, our COA director, is running point on that coordination. He recently released the plan in his COA newsletter. We're going to be pushing it out through social media and our newsletter with the contact information. Again, if you have any questions on anything that has to do with the special town meeting, please contact either me or Joe or Michelle through the Select Board's office, and we can answer any questions.
Thank you. Chair's report. I would just say that for those folks coming to a town meeting, I would request that you thoroughly study the warrant and also go on to the town website and review the Finance Committee's very elaborate and detailed information on the school question. My compatriots, anything?
So the 8th graders left this morning at 4:30 a.m., astonishingly, for their trip to Washington, D.C. They have made it as far as D.C., and they're off and running. So I just want to wish them well, hope they all have a great experience, and also thank the schools, because I think it's a tremendous opportunity that the kids are able to do this. Pretty exciting.
So, I did the same thing. My school, 5th grade trip, 1968, canceled. So I think we should talk about Memorial Day.
Yes.
So at 10:15, we'll meet at Cheeseman Park. And then at 11, we will meet by the flagpole across the street and then walk down to the cemetery. And it's always pretty moving. I have to tell you, the other day I drove past a cemetery, and there was a American flag, and there was just this woman staring at it. Brutal. So anyway, that's good turnout for that.
And we should say thank you to the much rain-delayed replacement of flags, Bill Wilson of the Cemetery Commission and his team. Thanks to the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and all the other volunteers that replaced some 500 flags at the Main Street and the other cemetery this past Saturday. So thank you to those teams.
Yeah, the last thing is, afterwards, on Memorial Day, after we come back, there's a lot of great food here at the firehouse.
Yes. All right.
Karen, does Karen have any?
Karen, yes. You're muted.
It's like, is she muted? She's
It
not
doesn't
on
look
mute.
like it.
Doesn't look like she's on mute. Might be the sound in the room.
One sec.
Checking the sound. Just 1 second.
Can you try it now? Karen?
No.
No?
Joe, why don't you try yours and make sure it's.
How about now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Uh,
That's through Joe's computer.
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, mute your computer, Joe.
Can you try speaking now again?
Can you hear me?
That's coming
Oh,
through here.
a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, it was coming through here.
Getting closer.
Same thing happened at the Hamilton meeting last night.
So when Proctor took over Gillette, they put these new super slick video conference rooms on, and we'd spend about this much time getting them.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Where is the output? We try it again?
No.
What is going on? Something had to have gotten unplugged, I'm sorry. Something did get unplugged actually, I think. Is there a way to continue with, like, online, or through the, your laptop?
It'll just be a little
Might be able
echo.
to.
but-
Yeah.
That's the only way? Sorry, or if you can use the owl again?
Karen, do you want to try it again?
Hello?
Yes, but
There you go.
Can you put the microphone there?
Let me see, can I see your laptop? Can you just try speaking now again? Karen, can you try speaking again? you unplug anything from the owl? From when you had the owl set up?
I didn't have the owl on here.
Yeah, this is,
It was his, it was on Joe's computer.
Oh.
That's not even.
I think you're gonna have to go through the owl again, I'm sorry.
Usually it's the other way, but you can't hear us.
mhm.
Let's try
Yep.
the speaker, just.
Load up for a second.
What about now?
Nothing. All right, unmute. Turn your volume up.
That was plugging in the owl.
Yep, are you muted? I'm muted.
On their laptop.
Yep, we're muted, yep.
And Aunt Karen can hear fine now?
Just,
But we lost her again.
Can't hear her again, though.
Because you have to have the audio.
is right.
Okay.
Emma's not here.
Can your mic go? Think about
That's very different.
What's the tone of Who else is?
Just mute that. Mute that.
Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. Karen, can you try again, please?
Karen, can you hear us?
Muted, so she can.
Nope.
She should hear you now.
What if we do a cell phone?
Yeah, I could call him.
I was wondering that too.
If we did, or use a cell phone?
Yeah, unmute them because isn't that the sound for the recording?
I usually.
We're usually both muted, yeah.
Do you mute the town of Wenham? All right. Oh, yeah, no, never mind, so HW cams on.
Yeah, I think if the town of Wenham is muted, I think we're good. But can she hear us?
No,
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Now
she
she
can,
can.
yes, yes. We just can't hear her.
because,
Hear her at all?
No.
But the owl,
well, when we plug the owl in, it goes crazy. Why don't we just abandon the owl and I'll call Karen?
sorry
Yeah.
about this.
No problem.
Yeah, she's on the phone.
Hi, Karen, can you hear us?
I can.
keep it near the microphone so it gets
We
recorded.
can, but just, you're on my speaker, but it's not.
Okay, so I have, I guess, riveting announcements. I apologize if this is on my technology end. I just wanted to say thank you to all of the support of the friends and family that came out to Bike to School Day. It was a great success. We had an amazing number of kids that came out despite the rain. And outside of a few safety challenges, the kids did a great job and they were extremely excited. So it's great to see that from such a smaller school district to have such a large portion of the kids come out. So that was great. The other quick thing, as far as announcement goes, we have some, and we're going to be discussing it later on in the agenda here, but we do have some flag raisings that are going to be taking place over the next 2 weeks, and I encourage everyone to participate as much as possible.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
I'm going to, I guess I'll just leave you on.
Yeah, I'll keep you on the
Yes.
phone. Yep.
All right. Get Peter back. All right, so I think we've got a technical solution here. Karen Anger, Select Board, joining us remotely, and we should say that Peter Clay, Deidre Pirati, and Gary Cheeseman are in attendance for the minutes. All right, looking at the clock, let's get the consent agenda done quick, if I can have a motion.
Move to approve open session minutes of April 1st, 2025 and April 14th, 2025.
Peter Clay, second.
Just, we don't have we were waiting, we don't have the 1st yet, so just amend that to just the 14th.
Okay, just the 14th, as amended. Roll call vote. Gary Cheeseman, yes?
Deirdre, yes.
Peter, yes.
Karen?
Oh, no, did we lose her again?
Can you hear us, Karen?
I can, I approve.
Oh, great.
Yes, thank you. Consent agenda is approved. Looking at the clock, let's go with Rich. You've got 10 minutes if we can do it.
I'll do it quicker than
All right, and then we'll be on time, on schedule for the
Yes.
public hearing.
Yeah, this is, thank you for having me. This is a FY25 update, what we performed so far, and as far as road work, sidewalk, ramp work, and what we'll be looking for in 26. So just an update, just wanted to get in front of everybody, and I'll keep it short and sweet. So the first slide is the paving that we've done. Mayflower, Puritan, a section of Cherry, and the Bucher School exit. So if you don't have to do all the math, but if you add up all the length in feet, we are over a mile of roadway this year. I have a couple small patches, one on Hull Street and one on Grapevine Road, still to do before July 1st. I think those are about 500 feet in total length. So that's still going to happen sometime mid-June. I'll keep going quick. Here we go on the next slide. So, yeah, the previous slide, basically the few ramp locations that we've done so far are on Arbor Street and Cherry Street. So Arbor is at Settlers Lane and Juniper, as well as on Cherry Street. It's at the intersections of Eaton and Redgewell. We can actually go up a slide. So those are the locations. Left is Arbor Street, the right is the Cherry Street locations. The next slides will actually show some before and afters, and then these are usually, I guess, the exciting parts where I'm able to show in this particular, this before and after, this is at Juniper and Arbor. And if you could see the one to the left, that's the before, there was a previous crosswalk, no ramps on each side. And if you see on the left side of this particular crosswalk, people were being basically put off into a fire hydrant and a bit of a drainage swale to that catch basin. So, very cumbersome if you cross the street. I always try to think, children walking or, a mom pushing a stroller, you're basically being pushed, right into, that location where The picture on the right is the after, which what I did was I just moved the crosswalk on the other side of Juniper. And that's what that depiction is that it's now a proper ramp on each side, and then the crosswalk, or the sidewalk extension just on the other side. So you come off and now you're getting onto Juniper on the further side. So it's much more conducive, it's much more safe to be able to make your way and traverse this way. Even by sort of pushing it across the street, you get a little bit better vision when you're crossing left and right. So your view is better as far as what you see down each way of Arbor Street. And this has been the last few years a reoccurring coincidence where I've been trying to take away and remove these cumbersome locations and try to figure out what's a better, safer, easier way that we can make these work. So this is just a great example of, doesn't take a lot more, you just sort of push it over a bit, add the proper landings, a little stretch of sidewalk, and it's much, much better. We can go to the next slide. Very, very similar, still on Arbor, but now we're right about the town line of Hamilton on Settlers. Prior, on the left, it was an angled crosswalk, and on the when you go from Settlers to the sidewalk, there's a curb there. So again, you have basically a bump that you hit. So what I did was straighten it out a little bit. You can see in the right picture that the previous crosswalk that we blacked out, it's a straighter shot, and now there's a proper curb cut, a proper ramp to land on. In addition, it's not seen here in the picture, but the new sidewalk you can see on the right extends from crosswalk to crosswalk, so from Settlers to Juniper. So that was about 700 feet of a new sidewalk. So a very good project. And you'll see that in my future FY26 plans, Arbor Street will be paved. So it'll really tie the whole project in together. So able to use some funds in one fiscal year and apply other funds the next fiscal year and really tie in a project. Now we can move on to the next one. Similar situation, the picture on the left where the hydrant is and the sign, that's actually on the picture on the right across the street. It's more in the foreground. I just slid this crosswalk across to the other side of Redwell and straightened it out, made the proper landings, and it's just another opportunity to sort of put these crosswalks in, I guess, more thought out, locations. So again, it's been a very good project overall with all the ramps we've been doing around town where these types of situations we're removing, those hazards. So I feel like the ADA and crosswalks have been a big success in that sense where, sort of just getting away from those previous problem spots. Next slide, which actually leads us to future crosswalks. So currently underway, we have the Grapevine Road, 2 locations at Gordon, and the Rubley Road at Iron Rail Entrance. Those are about halfway through, maybe even a little bit more. The ramps are in place. I still have to do new line striping and new signage. A couple of them didn't have signs prior, so the indicator signs. So those are already constructed. They just need to be finalized. I also, for FY26, plan on at least Cherry Street at Pleasant, and then Larch Row at Larch Lane. So that's the Wenham Housing Authority. Those ramps or the landings are in pretty good shape, but there's some opportunity there to actually put in the ADA concrete ramps and level things out a bit. So we're getting to the point where the real problem ones are starting to be picked off the list, and now I'm going for ones that are, I guess, lower hanging fruit, but still need to be addressed. Future sidewalk, there's still a few, and I'm calling them more of sections, not not like a 700-foot section, but repairs made on Arbor and Pleasant. So those are Porter, sorry. Those will be looked at for FY26 as well. So I have to basically after I do a few other projects in 26, see what kind of funds we have left over and start to try to take care of some sidewalk sections. FY 26, the big paving project is going to be Arbor Street. So I mentioned, we performed the crosswalks at Juniper and Settlers, and now we're going to tie in that whole new road. It's going to be a mill and pave. Basically going to start at where the Route 1, the DOT 1A project ends. I'm going to pick up from that spot right to the town line. So I think it's about 3,400 feet of new roadway on Arbor. So that's going to really tie that one in. And then I'll evaluate how much funds we have left for the end of the year and see what else I can accomplish. So so far, this year's been a great success. And I hope, next year kind of just continue with that and just kind of keep picking away at these locations that need some help. And, that's really, I guess it's fast, but it's sort of what we've been working on. It's been a lot of work, so.
Thank you, Rich. Questions or comments?
I'm thrilled you're doing Arbor Street.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's necessary. It's needed. There's some rough spots there, so, I've done School Street and some other spots, so I think it'll really just tie everything in just for the walking.
Well, I think the fact that you've really done a nice job around the school
Yes, thank you.
is really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, we spent a lot of time doing all the ramps around school. That was sort of the idea, start right in the middle of town and kind of work our way out. And I'm at that point where I'm sort of finding those other areas that are further away from, downtown. Thank you.
Karen, question?
Go ahead, Karen.
I still have
Yeah, I just had a quick question. What is the anticipation or anticipated timeline to pave Arbor Street? And the only reason I'm asking that is because is there a way that we can ensure that it's done while the students are not in school? Is there a way that we can prioritize getting that done before the kids have to walk up and down? I know as somebody who had paving done on their street last year, it's quite a feat. So I want to make sure that kids can safely come to and from school without having to maneuver that.
Yep, so that is the plan. We'll do it during the summer when school's out. Once Chapter 90 funds are available, which usually do come in July, that's when I'll do that project. So that'll be really the first job that we do in FY 26. So once those funds are available, that's when I can start using them, and then that's what I'll do.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
Wait. I'm waiting.
One more.
Thanks, Rich. I love seeing these projects done, and I think this is great progress, so thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming to show it to us every time.
Sure.
My question is, if we have crosswalks and intersections that we would like to suggest for your list, should we contact you directly, or how?
Yeah, that's
how
fine.
should we go about it?
Yeah, feel free to call or email me with your thoughts and ideas. There still are some along 1A, but a good amount of those will be incorporated in that DOT project. So there's still a few out there that have curbings. So that, there is no real landing. So those will be addressed through that project. But anything else around town?
Yeah, I have a couple different areas than that. So
sure.
just send it to you?
Please.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Peter? All right. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you,
for the,
everybody.
presentation.
Great job. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you. Hopefully made it under time.
And I think probably ought to switch to the public hearing.
Perfect timing.
All right. So tonight we'll be holding actually two public hearings from National Grid. And Joe, do you want to give us the background of those?
Sure. So the first one is just a more traditional application to, let's see, this is for Larch Row, and they're going to be installing a pole, and I'll read this exactly. National Grid requests to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way, Larch Row. And again, National Grid is looking to install one joint pole on Larch Row beginning at a point approximately 35 feet plus minus southeast of the center line of the intersection of Larch Lane. That pole is number 558-84. This is for Anchor and Guy in Larch Row. and I believe National Grid is here. I just don't know if we're, yeah, Michael. Michael, can you try speaking? I can try to promote him to a.
Can you hear me?
Oh, hi. Can you hear us okay?
Can you hear us okay?
Oh, hear him a little bit.
So, Michael, we have your request here. Do you want to make any particular comments on it?
Yes,
Michael, I don't know if they can hear you in the room. I think we can hear you online.
Sorry, this is the only way I can get it to go. I don't know if you can hear this or not.
If we're quiet, we can hear it. Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, yes, but it's faint, but just try speaking up if you can. But yes, we can hear you somewhat.
yes, hi. So my name is Michael Zadie, and I am representing National Grid.
I can't hear him.
And for this, we want to install a pole across from the existing pole 558. We're planning on installing a stub pole with a guy wire to replace an old tree guy wire that came down. And this guy wire is used to support and keep our poles from leaning and possibly falling over.
So, I'm sorry, you said a pole had previously gone down. Is that correct, or was cut down?
Yes, we had an old guy wire that was attached to a tree that came down.
It's a guy wire.
Okay. Are there questions from the select board, or anyone from? I'm sorry, the select board first, or
Select Board, any questions?
No.
Any public comment for the public hearing? Hearing none, then I think we're ready for the motion.
Okay, move to approve National Grid's request to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along Larch Row and further described in the agenda, item D of tonight's meeting.
Peter seconds.
Peter seconds. Any further comments? Karen? No? Here? No? All right, then let's move to the vote. Gary says yes.
Deirdre, yes?
Peter, yes.
Karen, yes.
All right, so unanimous on that one. And Joe, if you can step to the second one.
Sure. So this is the second.
It was published at 7:15, so
Okay.
we may want to
Published at 7:15, all right, so I have to hold on that one.
maybe H.
So Mike will stand by to 7:15 with us, and let's jump back to,
We have to close this public hearing.
Yeah.
yes,
I think
yeah.
so. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any further comments? If not, Gary votes yes.
Deirdre, yes?
Peter, yes.
Karen, yes.
All right. Public hearing on the first one is closed then, and we'll resume the second one at 7:15. Meanwhile, let's go to item B, and Martha is up.
Thank you. Thanks for having me at this high-tech meeting that we're having. I'm Martha Brennan, co-chair of Wenham Human Rights, and I just wanted to give an update on the flag raisings. Thanks to the select board vote last fall, we don't have to ask permission to raise the flag, but I did want to give you an update on what we're doing this year. Pride flag raising will be June 2nd at 6:30. We do have one request of the town, and that is that we purchase a new pride flag this year. Gary will remember that the very first year we did this, we had a debate about the original pride flag and the progress flag, and we decided to go with the most inclusive option, and now that option has been made even more inclusive with an addition of a symbol for the intersex folks. And if you look across the street, you'll see that they have the new pride flag at First Church in Wenham, so we want to be partnered with that. The flag costs about $25, so I'm hoping that's not. And I can send a link. I can either purchase a flag and get reimbursed, or I can send somebody the link to purchase a flag. You guys tell me how that would best work.
I'm sorry, it's not to interrupt, but I think Karen has her hand up. Is everything okay, Karen, Zoom-wise?
No, we can't see or hear anything. We lost all communication.
Oh.
I can see myself. but we can't hear or see anything online. The room itself is muted.
Okay, sounds like HWCAM is resetting the software just to try to correct the audio issues. We apologize. They're working on it right now.
Sorry, he's taking control.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
It's good you have Karen as the,
Yes, thank you, Karen. Thank you, Karen.
good job.
I'd say continue, but honestly, then the recording wouldn't be on here, so nobody can hear or see you.
It's okay. I'll take the opportunity to say I love our new crosswalks on Cherry Street.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and watch the progress as we went. Yeah.
Yes, yep, I got it. Yep. Just did.
Can you hear us now?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Oh, great.
Really hoping it wasn't.
Start from the beginning? Say it fast?
Just a brief,
Okay.
Sorry.
June 2nd, 6:30, Pride Flag. We'd love Pride Flag raising, which will be a town-wide event. We'd love it if the town would purchase a new flag this year to update the most inclusive of flags, which is the new flag with the intersex symbol. First Church in Wenham has theirs up if you want to see what it looks like. Flag costs about $25. I can purchase one and get reimbursed, or if you guys do the procurement, you just tell me what is easiest. So that's for Pride. For Juneteenth, we're kind of doing the same thing we did last year, which was inviting the folks from the North Shore Juneteenth to provide speakers, and that's at a cost of about $450, which is the same as last year. That ceremony will be June 16th at 6:30 as well.
June 15th?
16th. They're both Monday nights. Not the Monday night of the all-important town meeting, but
And just to make it clear, it's out front of the...
out front of, and
Town
town
hall.
hall, yeah. So again, basically the same request as last year. So I don't know if people have questions or...
To vote for the money? Yeah. All right. Any questions from Karen? Peter? Peter?
Nope.
Nope.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then I'll make a motion that the Select Board expend the amounts of $25 for the flag and $450 for Juneteenth ceremony.
Second?
Any comments? Hearing none. The vote, Gary says yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Peter, yes. 6:30 on the 16th.
6:30 on the
Yes.
16th for Juneteenth and 6:30 on the
I got it.
2nd.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All right.
Is Eric online?
Yes. You want 'em?
Oh, no, I'm just thinking we don't have sound.
No, we do.
We fixed it.
We have
We're
sound
good
now?
now, yep.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
It just needs to be reset.
Oh, sweet.
Karen, maybe try unmuting. Yeah. Nope, we still didn't.
You were just talking a second ago.
Do we want to do water, or do we want to do the next?
Well, I gotta wait 15 after, so can we do, is water here?
Yes, Eric's here on the
Right.
Zoom.
Eric, can we go through this in 5 or 6 minutes, please?
Might need to take the mic again.
Yeah. Eric, sorry about this. I think we can hear each other, but they can't hear us.
Yeah, everybody can hear everybody on Zoom, but not in the room.
Okay, hang on. Okay, Eric, try.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you want an update on how we get to it, well, how we get to the drought status, why we get in a water ban, and who actually initiates it?
Correct.
So
Yes.
I figured I'd try to keep it simple, and basically water suppliers are regulated by Mass DEP, and we're allowed to withdraw a certain amount of water, and that is over the period of the year. Mass DEP also is in charge of the drought status. They have a water management task force and a drought task force, and they meet once a month. The drought task force takes the previous month's information to give us our drought status. So a lot of times it gets confusing because even though we've had a lot of rain, it hasn't changed the status of the status level of the drought. This month they decided, because we've had so much rain, that they actually met this Monday again for a second time, and we are officially now, as of this afternoon, in normal drought status. So there is no drought right now. And their next meeting is June 9th, and then usually the first of every month going forward. In the past, we were always regulated by strictly by our withdrawal permits, and a few years ago they tied our withdrawal permits to the drought status of Massachusetts. So some things have changed, but every year we will be in a conservation ban between May 1st and September 30th, and that will never change. And the only thing that requires is that you don't use your irrigation between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., which is the biggest time for evaporation when you're using it. I don't know if there's any questions on it.
So we'll continue to have the signs out in front of Town Hall, is that correct?
Yes, so at least from May 1st to September 30th, there'll always be the ones that are green on top, which is just a reminder that there's mandatory conservation, which is just no irrigation between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. We have a meeting tomorrow night, and we're going to discuss lowering, because we were in a ban at the beginning of the month when we met, and bringing it down to just the mandatory conservation now.
Any questions, Peter?
Just thank you, Eric, and congratulations on your recent award.
Oh, thank you.
It's fantastic work.
Thank you. We're proud of it.
Back-to-back years, right?
Yeah, it's excellent for the town of Wenham, so thank you.
All right. And the stuff that's in your packets there it should not the clearest, but it should be a pretty good explanation of how we get to the drought status.
Great, thank you.
The two slides, can we get them up on the website? Yes. I plan on that. Anything, Peter?
I realize I can save a lot of money if I just turn off the water while I'm brushing my teeth.
Karen?
She's fine.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Trying to stay on schedule here. So back to public hearing number 2 from National Grid. So I'll let Joe give us the details and invite Michael back to just briefly explain.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a slightly unique petition. This one is for underground work. And I'll read it here. National Grid request to consider the request to construct a line of underground electric conduits, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures under and across the public way or ways hereinafter named William Fairfield Drive. National Grid is to install underground facilities on Fairfield Drive beginning at a point approximately 10 feet southeast of the center line of the intersection of William Fairfield Drive and Cherry Street / Topsfield Road, and continuing approximately 5,500 feet in a north then south direction. And Michael, are you here? Can we, again, just to add a little bit of color to this project? Can you try to speak again?
Sorry, 1 second.
Yep.
1 second, Joe can figure this out.
Michael, Can you give us a brief update?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So for this job, we are planning on installing new cable within the existing easement we have in this area. We want to install these new cables to, well, we want to replace the cables to replace the old failing cables in this area. We will be, after all the work we'll be doing, we will be restoring and repaving the streets and the sidewalks. We plan on doing this job in July, I believe, and it will take about a month to complete this work.
Have we coordinated with Rich? Are you coordinated on this?
We are coordinating
Yes.
with each other. All the details haven't been squared away yet as far as the roadway restoration. So that needs to be hashed out. I don't think he probably didn't. I do have some questions, but I don't.
Yeah, they were trying to come over here and
Come over
ask
here.
through this.
Yeah.
So, Rich Souza, DPW Director.
Hey, Mike, so my question is, this is horizontal directional drilling, is that correct?
Yes, I believe, yes, it is.
So I did, I have been able to review the plan that was sent over, and it appears there is a road opening at Cherry Street, but will the rest of the drilling be underground?
Yes, everything will be on the ground, yep.
Okay, so the only, I guess, penetration into the roadway is the entry that you had on Cherry?
Sorry, can you repeat that? You kind of cut out.
So I'm asking, is the only penetration into the existing roadway the location you have on Cherry? Like everything else will be horizontal directional drilling subsurface?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Okay, and then the only other question I had is the hand pull locations. It seems, it currently, the neighborhood is already, you mentioned, underground. Are you going to be replacing those existing locations, or will you be utilizing the same boxes?
We will be replacing them.
In generally the same location?
Yes, yep.
Okay, so I guess little disruption to the neighborhood in the sense where anything visible or, at grade is going to be more or less in the same location.
Yep.
Okay. I think that's all I have.
Thanks, Rich.
I have a question.
Peter.
Michael, Peter Clay, Wenham Select Board. We've got a number of solar projects going on in the town, and I'm really curious as to what the status is of the solar parking canopy project up at the regional high school. Can you chase that down for us? Please?
Sorry, can you repeat that question? I didn't hear the last part.
It's the solar parking canopy project at the regional high school. It's a very important project to us, and we're just wondering what's going on.
I can I can talk to the engineer for Wenham. I don't cover Wenham. I'm just filling in for her today. But I can definitely bring that up to her.
Please. Thank you.
Yes.
Deidre. Karen, any questions?
No.
Any from the public hearing? Anything from the public?
There is,
We have.
oh, yep, we have two online.
We'll take in-house here first.
So yeah, come with me, if you don't mind. Thank you. Just state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Kathy Felton from 42 William Fairfield Drive, and I'm here with my husband. And the question that I have is there going to be disruption of power during that time. I think my daughter, who lives on Maple Street, there was some work last year, and there was a question, son-in-law had to not work at home and go into Boston to do his work because there was disruption. And the reason that I ask, it's not a hardship that we can have some kind of a disruption, but, I mean, this is a month-long project. How long is a disruption? Would it be at an individual house when you're working near there, or is it the whole street that's going to be on and off constantly? If we're without electricity, I know many of us, including myself, I've got house guests coming, and should I tell them to go stay somewhere else? And we also have a big roofing project I'm planning at that time. And is that going to be a problem if they need some kind of power? So really, it's about the disruption that I want to know. And if you're more accurate on when it's actually going to start. You said July, but is it like early July, after the 4th of July, or are we talking late July? And will you give us a notice, specific notice, when it's actually going to happen, so we won't just find out someday just as our house guests are arriving and tell them they have to go live somewhere else? Thank you.
Yeah, with the outages, we will notify you 10 days prior before we do get an outage. And I believe there's going to be one outage for this whole job, and that's going to be when we disconnect the old service, old cables, and connect the new cables, and you will be notified 10 days prior. And for the exact date, I don't have an exact date, but I believe it's going to be after July 4th, sometime in July. I can find it out.
Once the power goes out, how long will that be for?
Sorry, what was that?
How long will the power be out when you're doing the cable reconnect?
I believe it's a day, a full day outage.
We have online questions?
Yes. Let's see. David Doggett, go ahead, please.
Hi, thank you. David Doggett, 5 William Fairfield Drive. In the notice of public hearing, it indicated there should be a map provided of where the lines are actually going to go, but there's nothing sent in the mail. I don't see one here. Is there one available? And then second question, just to follow up on Rich's kind of line of questioning. To confirm, there will be no trenches dug. It's all going to be underground.
Michael, before you answer that question, David, the maps right there. It also is on the town website as well under the news flash section. But I believe Michelle has it up there. We'll share that momentarily. But Michael, you can go ahead and comment on the second question, please.
Yes. Everything will be underground. I'm not sure if I heard your question correctly.
Yes, my question is essentially, is there going to be a trench dug for the underground, or is it just, you won't notice it?
Well, yeah, it is going to be a trench for the underground, but we'll be repaving the trenches.
Okay, so that's different from what you told Richard earlier, correct? Just so I'm 100% clear.
So can we clarify, previously we understood that was going to be horizontal drilling with just one entrance point on Cherry Street. Now, how much of the trenching are you speaking? Is it the full length of the street?
On Cherry,
Because it looks like this line goes through a number of people's yards. Like, will there just be a hole dug in people's yards?
No, so everything will be on the public website. Nothing will be on private. That's just an approximate drawing.
But Michael, you've introduced some confusion here because initially you responded to Rich's question that there would be no disruption at the surface level. It would be all below grade. But now it sounds like you're saying that there will be trenches dug, so I think people on the street are trying to understand exactly how much disruption they will see in the neighborhood.
Yeah, my apologies for that. So it is going to be, we are going to have trenches being dug.
So for the length of the blue lines on the drawing, what's the extent of the trenches to be dug?
Yeah, just as seen as a drawing, we will be trenching from the pole to pad 8 and to pad 3.
And is
So,
that,
sorry, from pole, I can't see the number. So from pole,
Pad 8 is up on speaker, so it's the whole length.
Pull 57 down the bottom,
Yeah.
Deirdre. 57-1, the red.
so it is the entirety?
Yes.
yes, sorry. So from pole
Blue line,
57
yeah.
Of the blue
to
line.
pad 7, and then
And what's the size of the trenches to be dug? Are they contiguous with the curb, or are they in the middle of the street? Like, what is it going to appear like?
I'll say it's more closer to the curb. It wouldn't be in the middle of the street.
Rich?
Sorry, we have Karen too.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Sorry,
that
Rich, one
there's
second.
clearly some.
Karen, do you have a question?
I had a couple of quick comments. I'm just trying to shut my mute off here. So, Deidre, I'm with you. There's a lot of confusion. I think, Michael, there's a little bit of a lack of confidence in some of the answers here. The one question I had for the select board is if we're looking at days, and he's saying full days of having no electricity, do we have a safety precaution plan for any residents that would need any type of health services during that time? We're talking any kind of medications, any defibrillators, any oxygen tanks, anything that they are going to need in order to be able to have a safe day without electricity? And if so, what is that contingency plan?
I would have to ask one of our supervisors about that. I don't really have an answer for you right now.
So I'm just wondering, Michael, if perhaps we should take a second cut at this at the next meeting, and maybe you can request a supervisor and possibly appear in person, just so that we can get some clarity on the project, and so that the people on the street have some comfort with what is definitively going to happen. Is that possible?
Yes, it is. Yes.
All right, thank you. Rich, anything to add?
Yeah, so I guess for the next meeting, it'd be good to know exactly what equipment will be being used. Because again, I thought it was more of a ditch witch, performing horizontal drilling, the CIC, the cable and conduit. So then that does lead to a larger conversation regarding road restoration, because William Fairfield is in pretty good shape. So we'd have to talk about possible curb to curb repaving, and not just a trench down the road. So there is, I guess, questions that I have are what equipment will be used, and exactly, where the subsurface. I know you're going to go through some yards, so the restoration as far as people's loam and seed, things like that.
All right.
Anything else on?
I think perhaps, Michael, this is Vice Chair Cheeseman, let's plan to have you and your office coordinate with the DPW and our town administrator in the meantime, and push this to the 2 June or 16 June
Yeah,
meeting.
Mr. Vice Chairman, if you don't mind, KP did actually advise us on this. If there wasn't a vote reached on this, can we please just vote to continue the hearing?
Yes.
Just at a later date and time, so we don't have to restart the process again?
So,
Sure. We need to move it to a date certain, though,
Yeah,
right? So the
continue,
next
as long
meeting.
as they continue.
yeah, so Michael, you think you can get full answers and participation on 2 June
I think we should push to the 16th.
16th? All right. The time is
Yes, I
right?
can. Yes.
So let's go, let's plan this for the 16th. So that's I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until the 16th of June.
Okay, I move that we continue this public hearing till June 16th.
Second.
Any further comments, Karen? No? Anyone here?
All set.
All right, so let's take the vote. Gary says yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Peter, yes?
16th month, so 17th.
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 Okay.
Amend that to the 17th.
Yeah, June 17th, Michael, please.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Okay.
Thank you, Michael, for your information tonight, and we look forward to getting the full story on the 17th.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so back to
F.
Michelle, you can pull up this
DEF.
PowerPoint.
All right. So this is yours, Steve? All right.
All right. All right, what you have before you here is a PowerPoint presentation that was put together by Jeff Soulard and presented to the Finance Committee at their meeting last week. So I'm going to use it. Basically, what we're trying to do is get the word out about our working group, kind of go through the direction that we're moving with the group, some timelines, gather any feedback from the public or the board that could affect the direction that we're moving. So this is kind of, an attempt to get it out into the public realm before anything is complete, so that we can make some changes along the way if needed. So again, this is Jeff's PowerPoint, and very well done. I will not be as concise and eloquent in how he describes the finances, but I will work our way through it. So firstly, a little background. So we have, as you may or may not be aware, we're proposing these two locations to be zoned under the 3A zoning, one at Walnut and one at Boulder Lane. And a full build-out would reflect about 365 units, 73 at Walnut and 292 at Boulder Lane. These would be the maximum allowable under the proposed zoning that will be before you at the special town meeting. Next slide.
Oh, sorry, Karen has her hand raised. Go ahead, Karen.
Go ahead.
Sorry, you guys are in presentation mode online, and so we can we can see the notes and everything, but there's other icons and comments that we can see from the slides.
I'm on a presentation mode.
Is that
If
better?
you leave it like that, much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, next slide. Again, the reason why the group was put together is, again, this is referencing the Finance Committee specifically, but it's understood that the Finance Committee and the Select Board are both going to need to make a recommendation to the town. We've heard at town meeting, we've heard from a number of different avenues, folks concerned with the financial impact of 3A and the unknowns around that. So the Select Board has, informally pulled together a working group with through Ben Timon, and the group consists of 2 planning board members, 1 finance committee member, 1 select board member, and 1 resident. I serve on the group. Kate Mallory and Margaret Hoffman also serve on the group. Jeff Soulard from the finance department, and Joe Pesamato. So basically, what we're doing is, we're going through a bunch of assumptions and working our way to a final draft that will help guide the town in making a financial decision as it pertains to 3A. Next slide. So, with any financial situation like this, you have really two components. You have revenue and you have expenses. The revenue side is relatively straightforward. That is made up of the estimated tax revenue through real estate tax, along with any additional taxes such as motor vehicle excise tax. So, as we go down the expense rabbit hole, things get to be a little bit more complex. Basically what we've boiled it down to is a large majority of the expenses are going to come by way of students. So, we're kind of tasked with making some assumptions and trying to figure out what the right number is of how many students are going to be generated on average per unit so that we can come up with a per student cost. So the first thing we did was, as we're kind of struggling with this, is, you hear feedback from the public saying that, there's no cap on bedrooms, that it's conceivable that you could build, to have 365 4-bedroom apartments. While that may be a possibility under the zoning, we took a look at developments that have happened in our neighboring communities, not as a result of 3A, but communities that have zoning that is just as dense or more dense, and see what the developers are building as far as, economically they're looking to turn a profit, and they have a pulse on what the market is demanding as far as inventory. And we're looking around, you can see those, we have a list there of all these are either currently being built or came online in the last few years. And, very little of, none of them reflect any 4 bedrooms being built. Very, very small percentage, Shingle Hill being the highest as a percentage of 3 bedrooms, which is a 40B development in Manchester by the Sea that is currently under appeal. And that was about 10%, maybe a touch shy of that. And that is, really the most impact. So, take that for what you will. We didn't drive any formulas from that, but, we kind of got a sense of the market that it's unlikely that even many 3 bedrooms will be built. It's probably based on what we're seeing. The developers are building mostly 1 and 2 bedroom units. Next slide. So, in addition to the students, we're also factoring in some costs that will likely be attributable to the local government and public safety. We realize that we have existing capacity, so we don't believe that all areas of the local government will be hit and there'll be a need for general expense increases. However, we want to be conservative. We have added staff, 1 police officer, 2 fire departments, and a couple other half full-time equivalents to departments like assessing and town clerk that may see significant uptick in the amount of volume. I think this is where you kind of start to see where, we talk about small town challenges and, higher tax rates or taxes per capita. And part of that is attributable to, a local government generally has to achieve kind of a critical mass to be able to operate, whether it's, out of a department of 1 or 1.5 to do the bare duties required of that department, some of it by law. And, it can be acknowledged that there is some capacity there to absorb additional volume without increasing expenses proportionately, particularly on the labor side. You can go to the next. All right, so now going back to the per student. So, we've looked at that chart. We've kind of assumed that a small percentage of the units that are built, we're running roughly with about 10%, again, being conservative. So assuming the worst based on the information that we've observed from neighboring communities. But then how many students will be the outcome of each one of those units? So Jeff has put together a model, and we've gone out and we've looked at a number of other communities who have hired different vendors to do 3A fiscal impact, and dove deep into their reports and pulled out their source citations, and kind of did our own research and utilized those source citations to come up with a range of students per unit based on obviously a number of different sources. And looking at that range, we're looking at anywhere, depending on what source you use, what building type, multifamily, whether it be 50-plus unit complexes down to 3 or 4 units per building. The smaller the unit tends to have a higher per student ratio. We believe that to be partially bedroom related and partially location and age of the structure. But a lot of the newer stuff is much bigger than that. But we're seeing numbers anywhere from about 0.2 to 0.4-ish, with, a general using and the allocation method in the model, and the worst being a 0.4 with all 3 bedrooms, and the least being about a 0.2 with a mix of 1 and 2 bedrooms, accounting for that small portion of 3 bedrooms. We're generally arriving at about 0.31 students per unit. Next. And so, you hear, yeah, is this the right one? Yeah. So, you hear that that's much lower than what we've been hearing from public comments, where, folks are using 1 student per unit, or, I've heard as much as 1 student per bedroom. And, just to give some context to that we ran, if you look at Wenham as a whole, not the existing condos, but just our 101 land uses, which are use codes, which is single family, is we're at about 0.4 students per household. That number would be down in the 0.3s if we were to expand that to condos. So that's, a community of mostly 3, 4, 5 bedroom homes generates, less than half a student per household on average. It's unlikely that a large development with mostly 1 and 2 bedrooms in what is deemed a commuter community would generate, even a number even that high. Next one. So then once we've settled, again, we're still tossing around, we're going back and forth, and we're really identifying what the group is comfortable with as a per student ratio. So we're not tied to any one number just yet. But then once we arrive on that, we start looking at how much is it going to cost the district, or in turn Hamilton and Wenham, per student. We increase the district by how much per student is it going to cost the towns. So this is where, we took a look at DESI and adjusted it for no excess and deficiency contribution, because it was artificially reducing our per student cost, and also adjusted it to reflect our FY26 proposed budget. And we came up with about roughly $25,000 per student cost to educate the students in Hamilton and Wenham School District. You can go to the next slide. And so, the first thing is, I think Vinny's used this analogy, and I've heard it a lot, is that the plane is going to take off whether it's full or not, and it costs roughly the same amount to fly the plane. So, I think that that analogy holds true here, and something that we're struggling with is there's a high likelihood that the first X amount of students that are introduced into the district through this zoning, if the development does happen, that will be, an incidental cost, right? So it will be absorbed into the existing structure, and there won't be a need for additional staffing, because of whether the class is 17 kids or 22 kids, it's still 1 teacher, right? There will be some incidental costs, but certainly not anywhere close to 25,000. But then as the student body increases, we look at, well, where is the threshold that we run out of space, so to speak, and need to, either A, add modular classrooms, at least in the short term, or B, build a new school. So to account for that, and there's a lot more detail, but I'm not going to go into it, is we're trying to figure out how to attribute the cost of, as the student body grows and the need to add capital costs is, what part of that capital additions that were needed to add is how much is it going to cost the two towns? So kind of what we're putting together now is a sliding scale that takes, will factor the cost per student. So, we have thresholds as, like in this example, again, we're not tied to this, but, if it's 35 students, then, it's really the $25,000 per student is really only costing us the $4,800. As it gets larger, the expectation is that you're losing the ability to absorb into the existing structure, and more of that is needed to support additional staffing and additional capital needs, because the assumption is that the existing capital needs aren't going to change. If you need a new school, you need a new school, or you need a new roof, the roof needs to be replaced whether these kids are in there or not. It's when you're actually adding structure or space that need is going to grow to the full $25,000 per student, because that's the existing cost with a full capital need as it is now. So again, we don't, it's probably, we keep going back and forth what the right way to do it, but I think by taking this approach, we've acknowledged that there is a significant cost looming as the student body grows, but we also want to acknowledge that it's not just a direct one-to-one $25,000 per student, which can quickly, the money can run away. Just a quick, a straight multiplication problem of exactly how many kids into the district times 25,000 is not really a realistic picture. So, with that really concludes where we're at now. We're meeting again this Thursday. Jeff and I are working to not finalize, but come up with a draft report that actually looks like a report and incorporates all the feedback that we've received from the group and the information here that's presented tonight, but also actually, committing to a ratio and doing out the numbers. And, so that's basically where we're at. Open to any feedback, if anything sounded off, or, you're hearing anything from the public that doesn't agree. I mean, that's what we're looking for. We want it to make sense. We want the folks to the residents to be able to pick it up and read it, and for it to make sense and not, seem like we're, making stuff up or trying to guide a decision in one way or the other, but to be, conservative in our estimates and to be transparent and truthful wherever the numbers lie, they lie.
Karen, anything? Nope. Peter?
No, I think it's good, solid work.
Deidre?
Yeah, I think great job. I think this is really helpful and insightful.
As we get some hard numbers approaching the meeting, also, are we going to have prospective numbers on the actual tax revenue, given the average?
That will all be in there. It'll be revenue and expenses kind of put out, revenue minus expenses, and then the revenue side is basically fixed, because we can have a pretty good idea how to predict the revenue side, but the expenses will have, a sliding scale, whether, net income from, 0.2 students to net income or loss to 0.7 students. And then, when we're going to deliver the data that we found and, present what we believe to be the likely scenario based on the data, but it also gives that sensitivity analysis that the reader can kind of make their own conclusion.
Sounds good. And what date are we looking to?
Well, I think tentatively, we were talking about using the warrant hearing as,
The presentation?
The presentation, probably start pushing it out towards the end of the week prior to that, and then, get the word out there that we're gonna be talking about it and make that final presentation.
All right,
Anything else?
thanks
Thank
to
you.
Jeff
Yes.
Soulard also
Yes.
for
Yeah,
putting
for
this
sure.
together.
We're going
Yeah.
down the right track here, I believe. All right, and now we have another, is this yours too?
Yeah, yep.
24 Cherry Street. Our state representative, Sally Cairns, has done a lot of work with us, and as we saw last select board meeting, DCAM came in and spoke to us, but I think what we're looking at here is our own internal analysis of the 4 possible tracks that DCAM proposed.
Sorry, can I just remind everyone, I know people sometimes have a hard time hearing. You just remember to speak into the microphones.
Yep. So as Gary said, this is the last meeting 2 weeks ago. DCAM was in and presented to the select board the redevelopment / disposal options in front of it for 24 Cherry Street, which is a dilapidated structure and owned by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. What you see before you is essentially a fiscal estimate of the impact of the various disposal methods. This didn't print out how I would hope, but if you scroll down to the second page, you'll see the second row here. So we'll start with the first, if you jump back up. So this is, you can just imagine a continuation of the cells going off to the right. So what we did here is we took, an assumption. We made a number of assumptions, right? Part of it is that the first 3 options listed, the competitive sales RFP, the competitive sales auction, and the DCAM partnership with the town, all require, through the bond bill, a 1 unit per 0.25 acres. So in this particular site, you're talking about 3 units. The likelihood that it would be, it would be a single structure with 3 units, probably, a 3-story structure with the 3 parking, row house type style townhouses, if that was what to be built. So we've deemed the market value of that per unit to be roughly $850,000, probably on the low side, but to be conservative in our revenue estimates. And similarly, if it was to be affordable, Margaret was able to find some local comps, and it looks like roughly an affordable unit would be about $350,000. The market standalone, right, we're looking at probably about $1.5 million as a value on the finished house. So what we're using these numbers for is to calculate future tax revenues. And then the land value would be the value at sale. So this is if we're assuming that if the structure on there, that the land is worth about $500,000 and the structure is going to cost about $50,000 to demo, that you're looking at, a developer would buy it for $450,000, understanding that he has to put another $50,000 into it to demo the structure to have a raw land sale. The tax rate is the FY25 tax rate of $15.54. So as you can see here, if you move your eyes up to the 4 scenarios. The first 2 are you get 0 proceeds from the sale because all the proceeds go to the state. This is under a market rate transaction. The DCAM partnership, you get 50% of the proceeds, or $225,000. If the DCAM conveys the property to the town and the town does the entire process by itself, the town can also realize 100% of the profits, which is $450,000. Now, the picture changes a little bit, and we had to make some assumptions here. Again, is the proceeds for sale for an affordable rate housing. Again, I'm looking for feedback from the select board because I think that this would, the determination to move forward with an affordable housing approach, certainly would change, I think, the way we'd want to approach this. And here I'm reflecting $1 because the economics just don't work with affordable housing at this small of a scale. And based on conversations with the Harbor Light, that they generally don't see it to be economically feasible, even with the grants they receive, until they get to be about 40 units. So it may be that you can partner with a smaller, like Habitat for Humanity, but to make the economics work, you'd probably be looking at disposal of the property for essentially nothing, and then it may need additional funds through the Affordable Housing Trust to make it work. In any of the scenarios, except for the bottom one, it would need to be 3 units. Again, the bottom one, the town could have has the option and to retain the current zoning, or give the relief to the zoning and allow for the 3 units. So my thinking is that, again, if we're looking to go to the affordable rate housing, you're probably looking at, they're going to want economies of scale. So you're probably looking at, trying to get the relief through the local zoning to increase that unit count. If you could scroll down. So if you can remember, I know it's not on the screen, but the first 2 are the DCAM disposal methods. First one being the RFP, second one being the auction. The third one is the town DCAM partnership. The fourth one being the full disposal to the town. So now you can see the affordable units. These are tax revenue projections. So again, these are just estimates, but at 3 units, assuming that's what would have to be built to make that feasible, we didn't do a single unit assumption for the affordable units, but you're looking at about $16,000 in today's dollars per year annually in additional tax revenue. The parcel currently generates 0. It's exempt from taxation. And you can see the significant increase in tax revenue if you were to go to the market rate, assuming 3 units. Again, 3 units is required for the first 3. It's an option for the last one. So that's you can see the significant increase. That's at $850,000 a unit conservatively. And the last column, the annual tax rate for the market rate, 1 unit standalone. The third one down, the 23,010, and the third option, the DCAM partnership, that should say NA, because that's not an option, a standalone. The only option there that can have a standalone unit is the fourth one down at $23,310, and that is where the town takes full disposition and allowing it to be developed under the current zoning, which is 40,000 square feet, but it will be grandfathered existing non-conforming use.
I think Karen has a question.
Yep.
Steve, let's hold on, please. I think there's a back.
What was that?
Can you go up a slide or go up a page? I just had a quick question. In taking a look at options number 1 and number 2, do we have any anticipation of how many hours that our office will put into in order to be able to make that work? I guess what I'm trying to figure out is if we were to take on the house itself and we were to do all the work, is it going to cost us $100,000 in labor and hours from our side? So if we can try to figure that part out, that would help me wrap my brain around whether or not it makes sense for us to be able to take on which option here.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really put a number or a labor cost on it, but when you're looking at the options, it's certainly from least to most costly or labor intensive. The top 2 being, effectively minimal effort, I should say, on the town, as the entire process would be run by DCAM. They would continue to maintain the property. They would do the selection of bids, but we also have the least involvement. So, I mean, you can see it as a, good in the fact that it had, less strain on limited capacity. Bad, we don't have a lot of say in what is going there. And as you move down, the partnership is, again, I guess you could look at it as a 50-50 split. The proceeds are 50-50. The town would run the procurement process, so we would maintain some control over what can go there. However, you do have the bond bill, which requires the 3 units, so you don't have complete control. And DCAM will continue to manage and take care of the property until it's disposed of. And then the final one is where the town would take complete possession of the property and would need to insure it, maintain it as it goes through the RFP process. But the town realizes the largest potential for profit gain, assuming that there isn't any significant costs that are needed during the interim between when we take possession of it and we dispose of it. And the town also has the most control over what would go there. But DCAM did stress that either even under the first 2, which they technically have full control, it's their intention and always their desire is to work with communities and to have a result that the community is happy with. So you're part of the process every step of the way. You just technically don't have any control. Excuse me. But how much is it going to cost? I don't know. It's a guess. I mean, I think it's pretty labor. And it'd be a relatively big project if we were going to try to renovate and build it ourselves. So I think that if the town is leaning towards taking possession or at least at a minimum splitting the RFP, I think that it should be known going in there that we're just simply looking to dispose of the property to a developer. We're not developing the property. We would structure the RFP in such a way that we would be able to have most likelihood of having something there that both the residents are pleased with, the town is pleased with, but we're not doing the redevelopment. It's just a transfer of asset and the developer takes it from there. They have ownership, the town is out of it. And that's, in my opinion, the best way to go.
Anyone disagree?
Anything else, Karen?
No, I was just trying to wrap my head around the actual amount of money it would cost us. I mean, you're looking at, obviously, if we do full development, that's a lot of hours. If we are 50-50, that's a significantly less. I hate to walk away from any revenue at this point. But at the same time, if you're looking at 100 hours, and then if we're still using the timeline of what they had the last meeting, which I have here is 18 to 24 months, you're looking at 20 or 240 hours minimum at a minimum of $25 an hour. So you're looking at about $55,000 just in labor from town hall to be able to accommodate this. So it's in order to be able to do that and have it come out 225, your maximum amount that you'd be able to profit would be in the 150. Like, is it worth it? I don't know.
Deidre.
Sorry, what was the last thing you said, Steve? Which way is the best way to go?
Well, in my opinion, structuring it in such a way, and not to say we would want to develop this property ourselves, but to try not to build a house there and then sell the house existing, to maximize profit, to kind of get into like a developer's role as a town, kind of similar to what the Affordable Housing Trust does. We just structure the RFP, which what would be the town would consider to be, highest and best use, or through its needs and desires and wants, and then just sell the property. This is if we go. I mean, I could be easily persuaded to go with one of the top 2 personally, but
But you said 4.
Yeah, if we're doing 4, right, I'm saying we just,
That's what you're,
we take, yeah, if 4, I'm saying if the town, if the board is leaning towards a disposal method that maximizes upside, or the potential for upside, right, there are some variables, but we're trying to maximize our profit and take on more and more of the process ourselves, which is, you know, the bottom one being 100% of the process, the second to bottom one being 50% of the process, is that we do it in such a way that we're just disposing of the property to a developer to build. So like once we take the property, we transfer ownership, and then the town is out of it. We have no control over what, you know, how the developer interacts with the neighborhood or anything like that. It's not a town project, is what
wouldn't
I'm
they have to
saying.
go through the planning board?
Well, yeah, all zoning would apply, yes, that,
Okay.
yes. But I'm just saying that it's not like, we're not overseeing the project every step of the way.
So the idea of maximizing what we can get out of this property is very appealing to me. I almost feel like if we don't do that, we're not taking our responsibilities seriously.
And I can see that, excuse me, for sure.
I don't know, I'm not convinced yet which option is the best, I guess. I'm leaning towards the third because I think this is one project in one parcel in town, and we have so many projects going on that I'm not sure it really makes sense for us to take on the highest labor-intensive option, because I'm not sure the revenue is enough of an offset.
I think we need to take a little closer look on exactly what cost we would have as a town, because I think going to number 4 maximizes the revenue to the town, that we know under that we still have site plan review and the whole planning process, so that you would have for the neighborhood essentially what any other house that would otherwise be built there process-wise. And I think too that we ought to consider too that, you know, we certainly have a lot of expertise in town in real estate and so forth, that maybe we can get committee assistance on some of the things. And as Steve said, I would see it also as take possession, and then, you know, we're not going to be building the house ourselves. It'll be just a matter of take possession and then dispose of it to a developer.
Yeah, like Sabatini.
Yes, right.
He'd be all over it.
Yep, so,
Let's not put forward any specific developers,
Yes.
please.
so.
No, it's just, that's a for
An
example.
I
Yep,
get it.
So we have a presentation tonight. Again, more work to do before we come to a conclusion. Anybody else have comments?
Margaret?
I have a question. Should I go up there?
Or just pass the question down?
Pass the mic.
Steve, I'm wondering, if the town takes possession of it, does it have to remain affordable?
No, no.
So we could sell it then?
Yep.
To?
Yeah, we could do
As
any-
a single-family home, someone to
Yeah.
build a single-family home, okay.
Yeah, so the thing we lose, well, I'm not sure, maybe lose isn't the right word, but if the town takes possession, it sounds like by the state disposing of it, it has to be 3 units, and it overrides our local zoning
Okay.
through the bond bill. If we take possession, the zoning relief is on us. So, you know, we'd have possession of this property. By right, it's, if I'm using the right term, a single-family
home,
residence
yep.
that can be rebuilt. Everything in our zoning, like, there's nothing, you don't circumvent anything in our zoning. So if we were to want the affordable housing, we would have to, you know, I think it's somewhat of a risk because it's the zoning board of appeals, that relief would be granted through the full disposal. But it would be, you know, essentially guaranteed, my understanding, is through a partnership or the competitive sales RFP or auction run by DCAM.
Thank you.
Right. So, onward, and this comes up again in another meeting or two, because
Yeah, I guess, so do we have any?
It's been 12 years.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to, yeah, I just want to keep it
That's right. So,
moving, because
yeah.
I know the state is really, if the last one needs special legislation, and then they can get it through and into the winter session.
Right.
I just don't want to drop the ball, is all.
Yeah, and certainly with special legislation, with Bruce Tarr and Sally Cairns, and now Helen Bowen on, we have very cooperative and talented folks that could work on that for us, too. All right?
Okay.
Anything else on
Not for tonight.
this one? All right. All right, where are we at? Scratch and H, is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Item I, discussion potential vote to amend the select boards and committee appointing process policy.
All right, so this, I had a couple, I wanted to amend the document between when we distributed it and didn't, but I got some good feedback from some board members. And so some of the proposals are, if you could scroll down to the new one. Well, let me give a backup. Let me give a high level overview. The reason for this appointment process revision is that a couple things is, in the past, and I think just due to the fact of not a lot of interest in boards or committees, but folks that were the incumbent of a seat and that seat's term was due, the assumption was that if that individual was still interested in filling the seat, that they were just automatically reappointed. The select board over the last couple of years has expressed to me the concern that, that expectation exists, and we've, now come into a couple times where there's been multiple folks interested in a seat that, the incumbent is also interested in continuing to fill. So one, it's to outline that when the seat becomes vacant, whether you're in the seat or not, that when the term is up, the seat is considered vacant. The existing person in the seat needs to express formal interest in renewing their position on the board or committee, but also it is posted through other social media and the website and advertised as, an open seat, so that if in the event that there is other interest, the select board approaches it as a new appointment, interviewing or entertaining all interest in that particular seat. The other addition that I've gotten some feedback on that we needed to kind of hammer out the details to were recommendations from boards that were getting a seat on on a board that was receiving the appointment from the select board, making a recommendation. There was no process in which the recommendation was received. We had individuals from the board, either no one really knew. There was just no process. Either the chair would speak up, or individual board members would approach the select board and approach the podium, and it didn't necessarily represent the feelings of the board itself. It was more the individual of the individual board member. So this would say that the select board will consider recommendations, but the recommendation needs to come from a public discussion and a vote that represents the majority of the board. That individual recommendations are not going to be considered. And then further, the suggestion to change where it says select board, is this
Now scroll down.
yeah, scroll down. Where it says select board, to change it to appointing authority, because what that would do would make it a more broad policy, so that the select board is not the only board with appointing authority, so that all boards and committees that have the appointing powers could follow this process. And additionally was to add termination and removal, which I was able to have a brief conversation with Labor Council today, and it doesn't really sound as straightforward as it may seem, and it was basically presented to me that, well, it really depends on the board, because, you know, if certain boards have protections under Mass General Law, certain boards are set up more on an at-will type basis, where the select board is a temporary board that was set up under the authority given to the select board and appointed as such on a temporary basis, or whether the board, it doesn't have an MGL, but it's permanent in nature. It can be, you know, different rules apply. So I think, you know, further, any suggestions that we have tonight, I think at least in the interim, like, I'd like to continue down that path, because I've gotten the question a few times in the 3 years I've been here about how, you know, if there's a bylaw or a policy, such as behavior policy or something that is broken, or, you know, a difficulty with an individual that, you know, doesn't show up to meetings, or, you know, won't respond to emails to formally resign, so the seat technically stays filled, what are the process that the select board can go within its power to, you know, remove the person from that seat and then move forward to fill it. So I think it's a good question, something I want to explore, but unfortunately, I'm not ready to speak to it tonight. But we do need the other changes that were proposed, and I believe making it to the appointing authority makes sense, and then this would guide our appointing process that we'll be entering next meeting. So the first and second meeting in June, historically, is always the first one. We'll do all our special employees and public safety reappointments, and the second one we'll do all the board and committee appointments for the vacant seats. So this will help. This will allow me to send out an email to all the boards and committees, notifying them of the formal process, just so there's no surprises.
Comments, questions, Deidre?
I think this is a vast improvement, and thank you, because I know I had a lot of issues with it last year, but I think this is a huge improvement. Can you go to the second page, Michelle? The only thing that I was thinking of adding in that section about getting the recommendation from other boards.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just double checking it's not there already. I guess something that says the select board is not bound by the recommendation, but will take it under advisement or something to that effect. Just so the impression isn't there that that's the final word and we just rubber stamp it, but that it is valuable input.
Questions, comments, Karen? No?
I think that's a good addition.
So I like it as presented with the amendment to make it an appointing authority throughout rather than a select board, so that includes the possible procedures. And yeah, if we can we take the vote with the amendment to include Deidre's comments?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then later on, we'll have the, this is the appointment process, and we'll address the unappointment process.
Yeah, I definitely want to build off this, because I think it's a good, because honestly, it's been asked a few times to me, and mostly it's just a non-response, and I never had a good answer for it, so.
Are we ready for a motion then?
We are. I move to amend the Select Board's board and committee appointing process policy as presented with the 2 edits discussed here this evening.
Second?
Any further comments? Otherwise, vote. Karen?
I can tell she
That was
said
a
Said yes.
Peter?
yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Gary, yes. Thank you. We got item I completed. On to J.
I love this one.
So we have received a recommendation from FinCom to address possible post-town meeting actions.
Yeah, I think, well, the FinCom at their last meeting Finn, you can probably jump in, is they've made a recommendation to the select board to consider that, given that the regional school district is open and amendments are currently being discussed, that if the school should not pass at, I guess the fault of Hamilton, that the select board consider exploring amending the regional district that reflects the separation of capital costs associated with the elementary schools. And if I understood you, Finn, to have something, I guess, quote unquote, from my home district, a regional a neighborhood elementary school, so that Wenham would have its own elementary school and Hamilton would have its two. Did I get that right?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Finn Sprague. I'm the chair of the Finance Committee. So this motion is basically saying that if the school, proposed school, the shared school that is supposed to teach Wenham and Hamilton kids together in one structure and kind of the same environment, if that doesn't pass, then the future options are kind of limited for us, right? We will have to decide whether or not to just wait 10 years and try again when we have MSBA money again, or if the district is going to come to us again and again and again to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in Cutler and Winthrop, right? Where the vast majority of Wenham kids don't go to those schools, right? I think there's a net 20 kid difference of kids going to and from between these two schools. So basically the motion is saying that it's really unlikely that you'll get a super majority, the 66% of Wenham residents to vote for a 25% property tax increase to invest in those structures. When it'd be significantly less expensive for Wenham to say, you know what, if Hamilton and Wenham are so interested in the neighborhood school concept and want to keep the small, call it local, more neighborhood schools, then Hamilton can be responsible for Cutler and Winthrop financially and have all their kids go there. And Wenham kids can go to Bucher. It'd be significantly cheaper for us to find a way to handle that 20 kid increase in population within the Bucher structure or the administration building that's right there as well that used to be a school, and deal with that instead of asking our Wenham residents for a 15-25% property tax increase. And so, we're just to give you an idea of the timing that's happening right now. I gave the same kind of informational at the Hamilton Select Board last night. There's a meeting tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow with the for that negotiation, one of the negotiation sessions, and I'm hoping to get some guidance from the Select Board for what would be appropriate for us to talk about there, even if it's just exploring this as a serious possibility.
Finn, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Can we as Wenham unilaterally decide this is how we're gonna go?
I doubt it.
No.
I doubt that you can. But the problem is that if Hamilton thinks that we'll go down this path with no change, it seems really unlikely that Wenham is going to vote 66% for a 15-25% increase in our property taxes for those two structures that won't benefit our kids like this current 90 million, consolidated school that's designed to bring our two towns closer together. And so if Hamilton wants to have a material improvement in the structures of their kids' buildings, they're going to have to figure out a way to not make Wenham vote in a supermajority fashion to get it. Wenham people just won't do it. And so if Hamilton wants to have an improvement in their elementary kids' situation for the next 10 years, they should want this too. Because otherwise, they're going to be stuck with buildings that are out of code, no sprinklers and leaking roofs for 10 years because they won't be able to convince Wenham kids or Wenham residents to vote for it.
All right.
Sorry, can you clarify again, what is the meeting tomorrow that you're talking about?
So there's sort of there's a work, kind of like the 3A, there's a working group that meets I think it's every month, to discuss the possible amendments to the regional school agreement.
Okay.
And there's a rep from both finance committees, both town, leadership, and the, I think a rep from the select board is also invited to attend.
All right. Thank you, Finn.
So, sorry, one more. So you're expecting that this would be discussed tomorrow? Maybe discussed?
I would bring it up as the FinCom leader, just to say, we've made a motion to the select board and we would like the select board to seriously consider this. I would like some direction from the select board about how receptive you are for us to kind of more formally improve it. If it's just the FinCom asking it, it's one thing. If the select board says this is something we need to seriously consider, and the folks that are voting no in Hamilton or Wenham, or yes for this proposed school, need to realize that this is a likely future path.
I think we should seriously consider it. And here's why. So Wenham was 63% on the vote, and Hamilton was what, 56 or something? If we consider trying to not pay for the capital for Winthrop and Cutler, that's every reason why Hamilton should now vote for the new elementary school consolidated.
Yeah, certainly, the answer as I see it is to vote yes for the consolidated. As we've seen with the studies, it's the fiscally most appropriate one. It gives the children from both towns a state-of-the-art classroom so that there is no groups of kids, either in one town or different grade levels, having to suffer through inadequate school buildings. I don't want the question to get too complicated with this new angle to it, but I would just put it out there that, yes, that voters, when you come to town meeting, you should consider what's the fiscally responsible way, what's the best for the children, and also consider what happens, the downside, if you do not vote yes, that there's going to be increased cost, there'll be complexities as to trying to get through upgrades in the interim before we get back in the line. Deidre?
Yeah, I would echo everything that you both have just said. The consolidated school is the most fair proposal for both towns and for all children and all families of both towns. And as Finn said, would bring the two communities together. If the plan is rejected, it sends us down potentially a very different pathway. And I think the proposal that's been brought forward by the FinCom would, in that eventuality, if that were to happen, need to be seriously considered by the Wenham Select Board, because our responsibility is to the people and the children of Wenham.
Right.
And we have to protect our interests. And I hope that everyone can look at that and understand our position, and that the Select Board has fully endorsed and stands behind its recommendation for the consolidated school as the most fiscally responsible, as has been said, and the most fair option to all involved.
Karen?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I want to reiterate everything that Gary and Deidre have said. I am in full support of this school. I am in full support of combining the two communities together. That being said, should the vote not go in favor of a new school, Finn, the Finance Committee has done an excellent job in taking a look at this. We've been discussing it for 8 or 9 months at this point, that this was a potential that was coming down the pipeline. And it's something that, as Deidre mentioned, I fully expect the select board to take a look at, to make sure that we take the interests of Wenham, the interests of our own children, as well as being fiscally responsible within our own town. And I'm in full support of not only continuing this discussion, but thanking the Finance Committee for moving forward with having this discussion openly. There's been a lot of communication on the back end, and it's nice to see this on the forefront of the agendas at this point.
All right. Anything else? All right. Then, good discussion. We'll see what comes from the continued open school agreement negotiations. And we'll, I expect Ben will bring this up.
Sorry, do you have anything that you would like me to be bringing to the table? Or I'm not sure if one of the select board members is going to be there representing Wenham tomorrow, or if there's anything you'd like me to be saying more specific.
I think that...
Which meeting is this tomorrow? Is this the one at 3:30?
Yeah, it's at 3:30. Yeah.
I can't make it.
Yeah, so
Gary's gonna.
I'll take it tomorrow. Then.
Gary will go.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, Finn.
As the clock moves on, right?
Oh, Karen, I'm sorry.
Karen, yes. You still get your hand up?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Unfortunately, I need to bid you all a good night. I have a small issue at home, so I will say good night, good evening, and if you need me at any point, please feel free to email me, but unfortunately, I need to step away.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So let the minutes reflect that Karen departs the meeting at 8:30, but we still have a quorum in place.
Right.
All right.
Good luck tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Karen.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. All right.
All right, are we on K?
K. All right. Update the town administrator on the agreement, the regional school agreement process or progress.
Yeah, so I'll keep this brief because I know it's getting late. But so basically, this was probably almost a year ago. Actually, probably September, October of last year. We started this working group with that Finn was just talking about to discuss the amendments to the regional agreement. We brought it up at a select board meeting, and the select board generally arrived at 3 points that it would like me to advocate on its behalf to implement some changes into the regional agreement. One being the exploring an assessment formula change that would, basically shave off the peaks and valleys and make the assessment shift a little bit less erratic as the student body population ratio between Hamilton and Wenham fluctuates. So one of the things we're talking about is, extending that from a 3-year rolling average to a 5-year rolling average, doing a 4-year in year 1, then 5 years, so essentially stepping it into over 2 years. That would certainly smooth it a little bit. You're always going to be subjected, though, to ebbs and flows based on the student population by each community. Hamilton has, proposed another formula that is driven in part by an EQV, which is equalized assessments, essentially taking the total value of the community and deriving an assessment based on that, as well as student body, and weight it. So 25% of the distribution would be up on part by the EQV, and what portion Wenham is as in relation to Hamilton's total value of its parcels in relation to Wenham's total value of its parcels, and then 75% remaining the student body. We also was asked to integrate a capital planning process that included input from the towns. Just conveniently, the school district has just recently accepted a new capital planning process policy. So I've taken that policy and did my best to distill it into something that was not overly restrictive, but reflected the policy that could go into the regional agreement, and which is in the memo here before you. And then codifying the existing budget process. The board, has expressed to me their satisfaction with the existing budget process and the collaboration and transparency that the current administration at the school has been showing. And so I took a stab to codify the components of that budget process that I felt that the board enjoyed as something that could live within the regional agreement to ensure that this type of process exists, indefinitely or until it's changed. And, so that I wanted to give you an update. I primarily wanted to share my drafts with you. I'm not sure if you got a chance to review it quickly, because I plan on sharing this with the group tomorrow. And before I submit it for discussion, again, it doesn't mean we're not really negotiating, or just everybody's putting in their 2 cents and gathering comments from, Hamilton and the school committee. But, I want to make sure what I, enter into the discussion is reflective of what the board wants. So, I'm looking for any general feedback, if you have any, whether you want it more granular, less granular. I will note that I think this is probably more granular than the school committee is going to be hoping for, but I do think that, the pieces that are reflected here are needed to make sure that, the process is followed.
I think it's really solid.
Yeah,
Good work.
yeah, I agree. It looks like essentially you've written down the process, and I think, I didn't.
Exactly, yeah.
I didn't find it too granular. I thought it was sufficiently succinct, but also conveyed what it actually is. And I think you're right that having this in the agreement so that it continues regardless of who the people are in the process is important. So I didn't have any problem with it.
Yeah, I think it looks good. Certainly the past history, we can't depend upon who's in the position, but
Right.
rather you have to have it written down how that position operates. So very much in favor of this.
Okay.
We'll keep pushing forward with it.
And then finally, if there's any additional concerns the board wants me to raise.
Well, this is a different type of issue, but similar to the article that I had hoped would be on the warrant this year, but will now move to next year, about elected officials serving on one committee. I would like to see that included in the regional school agreement, that when you're elected to the school committee, that is your sole appointment, and you do not serve on other boards and committees in either town, in order to reduce conflicts of interest, and giving the appearance of confusion in which board you're speaking for and from, and so forth and so on. So I would like to see that at least discussed.
You good with that, Peter?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Let's bring that forward. All right. Anything else? All right, then. Okay, L, discussion on the newly implemented Select Board public outreach events. So
Should
this
this
is Ben's,
wait for Ben?
Ben's initiative. Did he have a date set in June?
He did. I don't have it on me. He did, looking to have a Saturday morning public outreach, likely at a local, I believe it's going to be Vin Fromage, but to rotate through town and offer the, a less formal atmosphere for folks to visit and discuss with the select board. And I think his hope is that it would be 2 select board members on like a rotating basis, so like 2 at each meeting to help, facilitate discussion.
Well, as far as the first one, we would push it out by social media and so forth anyhow. So I think, do any of us have anything to add to Ben's plan at
Nope.
this point? All right. All right, we're down to the warrant.
Okay.
All right, discussion and potential vote to sign the final special town meeting warrant for the 9th June meeting at Bucher School.
All right, so the one change, believe you'll have to open the warrant for
Right.
this, but if you scroll down to, I think it's Article 5, it's the Spring Hill. Yeah, 5. So this is new wording, minimal changes, but we're referencing a different plan. So that is, I guess, that would be considered a material change because we're referencing a different plan. So that is the only change. So if the board would like to, I wrote the motion down, move to open the warrant, make the change, close it, finalize it, we'll send it to the
Can we do
constable
that?
tomorrow morning.
Move to open the special town meeting warrant, accept the revised article wording for the public way acceptance of the roads within the Spring Hill subdivision, and to finalize and close the warrant as presented for posting by a constable through the town clerk's office.
Second?
Any further comments on any of the articles or no other changes? So we're good. And the vote,
Peter, yes.
Deirdre, yes?
Gary, yes. That,
We need to close the warrant.
I think we did that in the one motion there. Last sentence.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
close the
You're
warrant.
right.
All right.
Got it.
One vote to get all that done.
Excellent.
All right. Very well. So I think no other matters that have been anticipated by the chair other than the schedule that we need to review. And what I see is, next up is Memorial Day on the 26th.
Yep.
We've received invitations to attend candlelight for the high school on the 29th. If you reply to that individually. Graduation on the 31st. We have a scheduled select board meeting on 3 June,
Yes.
right?
And on Monday, the 2nd, you will have the warrant hearing.
Yeah, the warrant hearing on the 2nd. Regular meeting on the 3rd. We have the special town meeting on the 9th. We have a regular select board meeting on the 17th. We have the workshop on Friday the 13th. Right?
Friday the 13th?
Friday the 13th is a good
shit.
day. And in between, we have the Pride and Juneteenth on 2 and 16 June. So a busy schedule coming up. Maybe we can, we should send out an email just listing all those out.
Yeah, that's a good
just
idea.
to get everybody on tap. Well, thank you, everybody, for a extended meeting. To the public, we'll continue to address our tech issues, but otherwise, anything else from my fellow select board members?
Move to adjourn, 8:42 PM.
All right.
Second.
Anything else? Otherwise, the vote?
Deirdre, yes?
Peter, yes.
Gary, yes.
Good night.
Good stuff, Steve.